What if the most important story that you'll ever tell is the one you were never allowed to speak out loud? What happens when we strip away the masks and finally listen to the stories that our hearts are trying to tell? I'm Raylan, veteran, healer, mother, misfit, and your unapologetically human host. And this is my heart of the story, a living, breathing biography of what it means to be fully alive. These stories aren't filtered or perfectly wrapped. They're messy, brave, sometimes funny as hell. We talk about the moments that cracked us open, the relationships that reshaped us, and the gold we found in the messy middle. Around here, we honor the truth behind the performance and the love beneath the grief and the courage it takes to show up anyway. Because healing doesn't always look pretty, but it's always worth it. So pull up a seat, laugh, cry, and swear if you need to. This one's for the rebels and the healers and the ones carrying the weight and still finding a way to dance. This story isn't just mine. It's yours too. So welcome to my heart of the story. Okay.
There it is.
There it is. So welcome to my heart of the story.
So excited.
I honestly can't believe that it took us this long to do it, but I know we were trying to do it in person, and this just feels definitely like you do what you can with what you got, and this is how it's going to have to
We made it
flow.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's never in our time, right? We know that.
Right. Exactly. So for those of you listening or watching, today I'm joined by my absolute best friend, Sarah Bartow. And we have been friends since freshman year in high school. Sarah and I have had the beautiful gift of knowing one another since then, growing together, aging together, witnessing one another,
Yeah.
raising kids, being married. Um, you know, I mean, let's be burying parents, right? I mean, because we're at that age where, I mean, it doesn't feel like that should even be a truth, but it is.
Yes.
And so thank you for coming on today. Thank you
Yeah.
for just being in my life in general. I just want to say that because to say that I adore you is like nothing, right? It's it's beyond that.
I feel
So
the same. And I also really think that there's a just a connection that has always been there. It's always been very natural for you and I to share lives with one another. So,
yes.
and that would be 1994 to be specific.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's throw it out there.
I was just doing the math in my head and it made me go, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, this is my favorite part really is I would love for you to tell the listeners, the audience, like how we met, how we know one another. That wasn't even enough of an introduction, but yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, here's the thing, like, I'm just gonna say it how I remember it, and you can trust that or not, and so I remember that I met Raylin in my freshman PE class, and I don't remember exactly what it was that started the conversation, but it was, like, the first, second day. I mean, it was, like, the first week of school, but something happened where there was a reference to the movie Aladdin. And I like from that day forward, it was like we said that our favorite part from the genie was like, "Hey, Lottie," that part on the movie, and then it was just turned into a thing, and that
Yeah.
was where we connected. Like every time we'd see each other in the hallway, we'd be like, "Hey, Lottie," and then it just progressed from there into what I recollect next was just our first acid trip together out of absolutely nowhere on a school night our freshman year, and I don't know how far in we were, not too far. It had to be like I don't know, September, October-ish, because it was decent outside, it was nice, and, I don't remember, like, the merry band that was with you, but I know that you guys came over. I'm pretty sure Wesley was with us, yeah?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
Wes and
and
Bobby
then
Jansen.
yeah, that's right, and then, yeah, there was quite a few characters that came in later in that night. But I remember that that was just kind of a, okay, we're going to do this together for the first time. Let's go. Like a random Tuesday. And then from then on out, it was just like, oh, okay, soul connection. Got it.
Got it. Yeah.
Everything the same.
Yeah.
I
Um,
still, of all the things I've done to my brain, I still have some pretty vivid memories of that first experience.
right? Yeah, so how many years now would that be? What did you say that was?
That
Like,
was 94.
okay. Yeah. So 22, 32,
32.
32, 32. My math is not mathing today.
It might have been from that. I
So I remember getting over being extremely sick. And I was like, and you guys, and there you guys, when I say you guys, I don't exactly know how it came about, but I
I don't
ended
either.
up at your place, and I had to be
I probably
convinced.
instigated it if we're being real at that time. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And so it was like, well, no, I better time than the present.
that's right.
So um what I do remember about that was his name Gilby something?
Yes. Yes.
Gilby was we dropped acid in Marysville.
Yep. In my apartment, in my little
In your
apartment on
apartment
13th
in
Street.
Marysville.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And got in the car, me and you and him in the front, Wesley and Bobby
Jansen.
Jansen
Jansen. Yep.
in the back of
Awesome.
the truck, laying down, and we're going up into Browns Valley or something, I'm guessing, Lomarica, something like that, right?
Yep.
And out of nowhere land, like, well, first of all, it starts hitting them and you can hear them in the back seat or in the back,
Giggling.
not even the, sorry, not the back seat, the
The back
uh,
of the truck.
truck
Because this
bed.
is the safest story ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can hear them just laughing and screaming like in the most funny way. And the next thing you know, I don't know if you remember this or not, but
The
this
owl.
freaking huge owl is like flying at the windshield.
Yes. Yes.
And we like look at each other.
Yes.
We're like, oh my God,
Oh my
dude.
God, dude. Oh, Mamo.
I
Oh my
know.
God, dude. That was like his favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, and so that was basically the beginning of the soul connection. I
Yeah.
believe. I mean, I'm pretty sure like we were um becoming pretty close prior to that. I mean, like
Yeah.
we had a lot in common. I
I
mean,
think I didn't hang out like we didn't hang out at each other's houses until then. Like we
right.
had connected and talked and like but at school. We just
Yeah.
sort of clicked instantly and definitely talked through PE because it wasn't
Right.
like we weren't
Right.
super competitive in that area. So I do remember hanging out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like that was sort of what created the closeness right off the bat. You know,
Yeah.
good, bad, or indifferent. That was the first line of major connection. And then I think for me, like after that, it just I was at your house all the time. I mean, like, and my house was that was the feral house. Whole lot of there wasn't a whole lot of adult supervision at
Right.
my house, which was
Right.
beautiful at the time. That was perfect. But
Yeah.
your house was always like it felt safe. It always felt the same and
Yeah. And there wasn't much adult supervision happening at my house because my mother technically at the time wasn't
yeah.
much of an adult, but she was there. She was
She was.
of she was adult age.
Yes, she was.
I feel like you and Wesley were pretty close before you and I really were close. I think you guys he had probably been to your house before.
Yeah, because I was friends with Bobby also, and like so it was that whole group that I was
Yep.
pretty kind of friends with
Yeah.
beforehand.
Right. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you had been friends with, okay, so for those that don't know this, where we went to high school, um, I had to ride a bus, um, like kind of on and off throughout my high school years, down from Challenge, Brownsville area where I was at, where I lived. We were called the Hill Kids.
Yeah, the
And
Hill
the
Kids.
Hill Kids had to ride down to Marysville High School in the city. And so Sarah
That's a
was
town kid.
a town kid, sorry,
Yeah.
a town kid, not a city kid because it was a town. Um, and you had a group of friends that you had for a
Long time.
very
Yeah.
long time. And
Yeah.
so when you and I started hanging out, it was like a town kid and a mountain kid, and
Connected. Yeah.
we connected.
Yeah.
So country mouse, city mouse.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. And I think that was, yeah, because it was, I remember sitting at freshman orientation and I went with Jamie Scott, Tara Myers, Julie Menges, and Kelly Thompson at the time. So it was like our whole group. We went to freshman orientation together and we sat there in a line. And I remember like the dean, one of the, you might remember this, you might not, but one of the things they said was look to your left and look to your right. One of those people won't be there when you get out of high school. And none of us walked the stage at Marysville High School. Like none of the group of us walked the stage at that high school. I mean, like it was just fun fact.
Mhm. Yeah. I would imagine that I was probably sitting with, like, Mandy, um,
All your hill kids. You were
all
sitting with all of your hill kids.
all
And
the
then,
hill kids, all the
but you
mountain.
guys were, what was it? Okay, so then what would oh, we're speaking so far out of turn because I don't even know what to say. What about like Loma Rica kids? Were those were hill kids too?
Yeah,
Were you guys backwood kids? How do we
I know, because
mountain kids? Mountain kids.
we were
Mountain kids.
mountain kids, hill
Okay.
kids. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know.
Mountain Hill
Because
Town.
yeah, it was very, like, we didn't have many interactions, outside of, I mean, probably, like, sports, I would guess,
Mhm.
that people started making friends outside of that, but, I mean, I had pretty thick, like, or, pretty strong
Yeah.
connections having been with a lot of those, kids from pretty much preschool all the way through 8th grade graduation. And then, because we had a K through 8th. That's what Yuba Feather was, where I went to school, was a K
Right.
through 8th. We didn't go and, like, have, like, a middle school
No,
experience.
we had
We
like Kynoch and McKinney and then Marysville High School.
Yeah.
Our
So
side of town. Yeah.
right. So you guys kind of had, like, what I don't know, what it seemed like a little bit different. Like, there were, like, a small handful of people that I recognized, through maybe, like, going to, like, a church group or,
Right. Something random.
something
Yeah.
super random.
All night skate. So
Yeah,
something like that.
so when I got down to, got down to the high school, I was pretty much like, I I didn't there was not anyone that was really familiar outside of the people that came down on the bus with me, and then everybody kind of, like, like, went into their own groups and stuff like that. So, um and then, of course, my best friend from Brownsville was Mandy O'Hara. Shout out wherever you are, Mandy, we love you. Um
I know. I miss Nando.
I know, Miss Mando Commando. Um, but she and I were super best friends. We came down. She was a cheerleader, and so then she kinda went into the cheerleader gang, and I was not a cheerleader, not even close. And so, but I got to know people kind of, like, through that, but like I
Yeah.
said, it was very there was very, like, feeling like a fish out of water, I guess, when I got down there. I really didn't know what to do with all of
And
that.
I mean, honestly, I don't remember you ever showing that. I don't remember ever noticing that about you. I always remember thinking that you had like a tremendous amount of confidence and that you were just like, you just attracted people. You were easy to talk to, fun to be around, like all of those things. And so, like for me, we had such a mixture of friends. And like when we think about like, social classes and different structures and pods of people, if you will, like we all intermeshed. We all hung out together in some way, shape, or form. It wasn't, I don't think it was as grouped up as
Mhm,
maybe some people would picture their high school experience because of what you were just saying. Like a lot of our friends were in cheerleading and sports and all of that in high school. I mean, I did some cheerleading, like Pop Warner cheerleading in 8th grade, and that was, in Marysville. And that was, I mean, that was fun, but it wasn't anything that I took with me to high school. I mean, frankly, my life wasn't really set up for me to have like support through sports in high school. Wasn't like I had, a lot of opportunity to go and be taken and all of
Right.
that. So I think some of that plays a factor too in my motivation in wanting to do it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was
Yeah.
definitely part of it. You weren't going to catch me walking to practice in high school. You weren't going
Right. Yeah.
to.
Well, I mean, for us hill kids, if you did an after school activity, we were up at the ass crack of dawn to get on the bus to
Yeah.
ride
Because you have to
45
get down
minutes.
early.
Yeah. Get
Yeah.
down early, go a whole day of school, then do an after school activity, and then ride the activities bus home. And so, like in the wintertime, you were on the bus when it was dark and you were home when it was
Well, and
dark.
if you lived in Challenge, then there was probably sometimes that it wasn't gonna happen because of
Yeah.
weather. Yeah.
Right. And I had, so obviously, as the story develops, but when I was, living with my Aunt Kathy up on the hill, I have to ride the bus. Then my mom ended up getting an apartment. That had to have been our freshman year.
Yeah.
Do you, right? Our
It
freshman,
was because yeah, it was,
Samson
Hampton
Garden.
Garden. That was freshman year.
Okay. Samson Gardens apartment, freshman year. So then
Got a
once I got,
throwback. Oof,
huh?
got a throwback.
So once I got there, things changed, but not for the good.
Right. Right.
Clearly I was doing acid at 15 years old,
I
so
know,
I
I was gonna say, I mean, I think we started this whole conversation with what wasn't going correct.
it wasn't going great. Let's just say that.
Right.
And um yeah, I guess lack of structure, I would say. I mean, who knows? I mean, I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. I don't think anything was by accident,
No.
the life that we had. And so we became wonderful friends and a huge support system because we didn't have fathers in the everyday picture, neither one of us.
Mhm.
Um, and our mothers were doing the best they could with what they had. And so we became allies, and truly depended upon one another for survival at
Yeah.
times. I
A
mean,
lot
that,
of times. A lot of times. And it was, I think, something that we didn't know how to verbalize it then, but we definitely found ourselves having in common was being parentified very early,
mhm,
being in charge of ourselves. And yeah, that was definitely what that was. It was a connection of like, here's this other kindred spirit that
yeah,
understands. And like, I think from the time that you were in town forward, that was where I found a whole lot of like similarities in our lives and what
mhm,
it was that we did and what we had. And the people that were around us, like all of our friends. And when I think back on some of those times, I think about how all of our friends were so perfectly placed in our life. I mean, they just, all of them, every single role that they played throughout that period of time was exactly what I needed to show up for me during
yeah,
that period of time. And same thing with a lot of our friends as parents. Like, um, I was so fortunate to have some of the influences that I did and the people that I was around when I did go and stay the night. Like, Julie's house that comes to mind first, and her family and how close I was to that. I mean, Jen Sopolowski's family, like just, these people that we could look at and see what it was supposed to look like. You know what I mean? And knowing what that dynamic was, because it wasn't something that I was familiar with. And it always felt very good to me. It always felt warm and safe. And that wasn't always how it felt at home for me,
right,
you know?
yeah, yeah. I would think that, or not think. I would say when I think about my house, it definitely was a safe place, right? In comparison to what you're saying, like your place didn't
Right.
always feel safe. And no
Right.
matter what the chaos was at my place, it wasn't that it didn't feel safe. It was just there were times when it was overwhelming. Um,
That's a good way to say that. Yeah.
yeah, it was overwhelming, but it was never not safe. I mean, we could, there's plenty of times that we all ended up at my place.
Yes.
All of us girls, all of us boys, it was the safe place to
We
be
knew we could go
bad.
there. Yep. We knew we could go there. We knew we'd be welcomed.
Right. Um,
There'd be a
so
piece of carpet or bed somewhere.
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely, I mean, I remember, gosh, my poor mother. So we were obviously raised on government assistance. Well, maybe not obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but we were raised on government assistance. Do we look like it?
Clearly. I
Oh my. So we were raised on government assistance. And so my mom would go and get groceries, and then all of us stoner drinking, partying kids, because that's what
God.
we did. We would just come to my place at Samson Gardens and eat
Eat it all.
it all,
Eat it
like
all.
ravaged, ravaged. And my poor mom would be like, you
I
know,
know.
I mean, she was like, "What do you want me to do?" Like, that's it. That was the money that
It's
we
gone
had
now.
for the
Yeah.
groceries, and it is gone. And I do remember times when we had maybe a sack of potatoes and a dozen eggs,
Yeah.
and that's what
Fried
we
potatoes and eggs.
fried. God dang, I love fried
I do
potatoes.
too. Not
That
gonna
was one of
lie.
my staple, like,
Yeah.
meals to make when I'd come home sloshed out of my gorge, and I would just make fried potatoes and eggs.
Yeah.
But I remember so many times, putting something in the oven and falling asleep and waking up to the fire alarm going off.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, the only bowl that was clean was like a bowl this big, and so we would just pour a whole box of cereal and a
And
gallon
cereal.
of milk, and everybody would just have spoons eating out
Yeah.
of one bowl. Um but we got wise because the majority of our friends were not raised on government assistance, and
Right.
so it was like, well, if you wanna come over and party, you gotta either bring food or bring money,
Right. Right. Exactly. We
and
did
that's what.
actually. That was
Yeah,
I think that came like probably around sophomore year.
yeah, it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
freshman year,
Yeah.
no, yeah, we were still quite dumb then, but, yeah, I mean, when I look back on that, now it's like, oh man, we really came in just like locusts.
Yeah. Yes.
Just demolished everything.
And how defeating that probably felt for her. God.
My
Sorry, Chris.
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Um, but she just, like, took the punches, I guess, just
Yeah.
went with it, until she didn't, and then,
Those were different nights. Yeah.
those were very
Those
different
were different
nights.
nights. We stayed at my house those nights.
Yes, your house was safer those nights.
Yes. Which was saying a lot. So, yep.
Oh, man. Um So yeah, we had I don't know if you're, well, I'm sure you remember this, but we had the one bedroom apartment in Sampson Gardens. Then we
Yes.
had the two
Then you
bedroom
had the
apart
two. Yep. Yep.
the two-bedroom apartment in Sampson Gardens. And then we ended up in the three-bedroom
In the three
apartment.
bedroom. That was
Yeah.
when I stayed with you. When you guys moved into the three bedroom is when I came and I stayed for like a couple weeks. I feel like because there was things going on with my neighbors, and my mom was like, "You can't stay there by yourself." She was working nights and all of that,
Yeah.
and so I had to come stay with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
like there was real things happening with my neighbors.
Mhm.
Very real. Like it was I believe it was like a shooting and somebody had died, and then there was like retaliation that was threatened and all of this stuff. So my mom's like, "You can't stay here." So I went to Sampson Garden Apartments.
Yeah.
Little does she know.
There's
But
a
at
lot of
least there's people there, and I think that's probably what she worried about the most was just me being there by myself.
right. Yeah,
Which I
not
mean, if
being
we're being honest, I was never there by myself. Somebody was always coming over.
right. Yeah. No, not being alone. Um, yeah. What would you say, and we had a really tight knit group.
Yeah.
Um, I remember the Fab Five,
Yes. Yes.
um, and that was me, you, Mandy,
Andy, Robin, and Jocelyn.
Robin, and Jocelyn.
Yeah.
And we were pretty much inseparable. And it's wild now because you've now raised a daughter or still are raising a daughter, but raise a daughter through high school.
Blank word. Yeah.
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 My littlest is still that age, and when I look back on what we had, it's very different than what they have.
Yeah.
We were thick as thieves. There were no cell phones, or
Oh,
I mean, I didn't have a cell phone until I
oh.
was, like, in my 20s,
Yeah, I don't even think there was like, I think we were coming out of high school, there was pagers, but no, there
right?
was payphones. There was popcorn, so you knew what time it was, you know? There was 411 if you had to get a phone number. That was like it.
Right. You had to call the theater and listen to all of the
Yes.
show times.
Yeah. Or like call your mom, collect, pick me up, click. Ask for
Had
your
a baby,
name.
it's a boy.
Come get me. I'm a 7-Eleven. Click. Yeah. That was cell phones. That was how we texted each other.
Right?
Yes.
Um, and so tell me, like, I guess your take on how much of a different childhood that was than what you witnessed with your own children, because I really just feel like we were
Oh,
so close, we were so connected. Like right now, they say, "Oh, we're so connected because we can FaceTime and we could do like what we're doing right now."
right.
And you have phones all the time, so you're
Yeah.
constantly like being bombarded with.
It's kind of, yeah, that's what
It's the opposite of connection,
it is. It is. It's not the same. I think what I notice, especially now, like working with youth, even younger than my two kids, like the ones that are kind of middle school going into high school now, like as a generation, there's not um there's not a lot of looking somebody in the eye and exchanging like an energy while having a conversation. It's mostly this, or it's quick, like little synopsis of what somebody's doing or saying, and then back into being distracted. So there's no real connection in that. And I think with my kids, even there was a lot more, like, being Austin's 21 and Olivia's 24. And they were still like, I remember when they introduced iPads into classrooms. My kids were in school. I want to say Austin was in like third grade. So Olivia would have been in like fifth grade. And they kind of took paper away and made it all about iPads. And so I remember that. Um, as far as connection with friends, my daughter's very close with her group of friends. She has like a group of three. So they're a group of four. But her three best friends have been her best friends since they were young, like fifth, sixth grade. So elementary school, all the way up. And I've seen a lot of similarities in their relationship and like the things that they hold sacred with one another. This is well, I mean, I guess it's meant to come up, or I wouldn't be saying it. But when Olivia's friend got her driver's license, she was the first one of all of them to get her driver's license, and then her other friend. So they got like a week apart from each other, and it was right around Memorial Day weekend. And so I told them all I wanted to take a road trip with them, and I took the four of them, and we went down to Marysville, and I took them to the cemetery, and we went out, and I showed them Robin's grave, and I talked to them and told them the story about what happened, how, you know, they wouldn't have necessarily known. This wasn't one of those upfront situations where you're riding with somebody who's drunk, or somebody's drinking and driving. Like, this is a situation where you come a little bit late somewhere, and this, like all of these different scenarios that can play out. So the bottom line is you just don't. And they live in this era where they can get an Uber and they can get a Lyft. And I mean, even in a town like Reading, like these things are available to you. So, guard that thing, that driver's license that you got. Like, hang on to it. The other part of that was it opened up conversations about what it would be like for them in that scenario. And
Mhm.
I think it made them think about it just a little bit different. Like, you don't think about that reality. You're excited to get your driver's license. It's freedom. Yes, that whole, but I think the reality of the situation, and also knowing that at that age, nobody's thinking about the end of life. They're thinking
Right.
about it being the beginning.
Yeah.
So sharing that story, I think, was helpful. I don't know that that answers your question at all. I don't know if that points out any differences. I think I only found similarities.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's important to, because okay, so we were the Fab Five. Um, and of the Fab Five, three of us are still living and two of us are connected. Where
Right.
because um and I've spoken about the loss of our best friends before,
Right.
but basically, I was, stationed in Japan at the time, and I got the call that, Robin and Jocelyn had, well, I got it in an email actually, but that Robin and Jocelyn had passed away. And so we had spent, I had known them since freshman year of
Yeah.
high school. And you had known them quite a bit longer than that.
Robin, I met Jocelyn in high school, and Robin and I had known each other since 4th grade.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, again, going back to what you were saying, when the dean or the whatever of high school was like, look to your left and to your right, it was, yeah, like I graduated with those girls, but then if I look to my left and my right of people that I had spent the most time with, um, two of them are gone.
Yeah.
Mandy is, living her life,
Yeah.
happily somewhere, raising kids and being a wife and doing all of those things. And so the person that I was the absolute closest to from preschool all the way into like my, after graduation, you know, I have no connection with anymore
Right.
whatsoever. And so I just say that to, bring up that you just never know what life is going to look like. I know you and I were like instantly, okay, soul connection, like sisters, but we also had our out breaths as well, where we just went into
I
life.
always say seasons. I feel like I feel like there were seasons when we were younger.
Right.
Like young parents even, not that whole when I say younger, I mean like everything before now.
Right. Right.
But that period of time, because it, geez, Ray, that so you went into the military way after you graduated.
Yes.
Yeah, because I moved to Reading between junior and senior year.
Right.
That summer, I moved up to Reading, and God, it really wasn't that long before we started having kids. When I think about it,
No,
it
no,
was like that much time
just a little like,
between them and this. It's like that much time.
yeah.
Wow.
So not to get ahead of ourselves, but high school was high schooling, and obviously there was a ton of shit that happened where you just realize, like,
Me?
obviously. Huh?
Me? Like, did you say like things that I realized, or you mean like?
Yeah, like,
Oh,
think
for me, yeah, I was a hot mess.
yeah, let's hear about it.
Hot mess. That was why I came to Reading. Yeah. Um. So timelines for that period don't really. I don't know, but I know that it was definitely like somewhere between sophomore and maybe junior year, probably around junior year. That while I had this whole high school life that was happening, with my friends, with the Fab Five and whatever else, I also sort of simultaneously had this. Um, I don't even know what to call it. I think I was depressed, and then I was also alone. I was alone a lot. If I wasn't with my friends, I was by myself. And at that point in my life, like Nana, who was basically a co-parent for me, had already moved up to Reading in 96. And so I didn't have a regulator. I didn't have like sort of any kind of an anchor or anything. And I think I felt like I was very much adrift at that time. And I don't know, partying turned into a drug addiction. Partying turned into not trying meth, but doing meth and continuing to do it and not caring about anything, about life, about anything. I mean, the parts that I remember the most about that period of time were actually had everything to do with Robin and Jocelyn. Because they came to me at like one of my lowest points when I was really, really bad, but I didn't realize that it looked the way it looked from the outside. I mean, I was 16, 17, right? Something like that. And I'll never forget Robin and Jocelyn coming over to my little apartment on Elm Street, which, was an absolute mess. It was a disaster. There was stuff everywhere. It was never very kept, just a kind of place to be in by yourself. And they showed up randomly one night, and I was coming down off of being high for a couple of days, and they just unannounced came over. And Robin sat at my feet. I was sitting in a recliner. Robin sat at my feet. I'll try to say this without crying because I didn't realize this was an emotional spot. But she sat at my feet and said that she had called an 800 number to see where she could get help for me. And Jocelyn was sitting on the chair across from me. And she was like, "Is that something that you want to do? I can take you up to my house. My parents would help you." Like all of these things. And I'm just looking at my friends like, "What are you talking about?" Like, what do you mean? What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. I mean, at that point, I was running around with, grown people and doing these things like grown ass people and not really realizing what effect that had, not just on me, but the people around me. And so they really brought that home for me in a lot of ways. And I don't think it was too long after that happened that Nikki Etros called my mom and kind of told my mom everything. Cause I mean, that's who she is. When
Oh,
she
yeah.
wants to fix something, she's gonna fix it. It's which never been more grateful. But she called my mom and told my mom, like, this is what she's been doing. I'm worried about her. Like, look at her. She's lost, I think I weighed like 96 pounds when I moved to Reading.
Hmm.
Um, and my mom called my cousin who lived in Orville and was clean at that time. And he was a great sport. He came and picked me up, as you know,
Hmm.
and took me to Orville and kind of that was the summer that was coming out of junior year. And I stayed there. That was when you and Robin and Jocelyn and did Nikki come with you guys? Or was it just the three of you? When you guys came and we had lunch at Olive Garden in Chico, remember you guys picked me up from Ernie's house?
Hmm. I don't
I don't
remember if
remember.
she was there.
I know. I don't think so. I don't feel like she was, but I don't remember.
She did her magic. She did what
She did. Oh yeah. Oh
she
yeah.
played.
And
Yeah, she
I
played
think
yeah.
that was no, it was just the three of you because we were in Jocelyn's truck and we all had to sit in her truck to get to Chico. So
Yeah.
anyway, see there's one or two back there still that are functioning. Spit out information every once.
I'm like, you know me, I'm like thinking so hard right now. Maybe you could see like steam coming out because I'm like trying to remember doing this. I'm like, uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, but I remember that the support that I had in getting it together and getting my life together came from my friends,
Mm,
100%. And my friends who were the same age as me and looking at the situation outside of me and saying, I love her enough to say something.
yeah,
I love her enough to say that this isn't okay.
yeah,
That's profound. That's profound. That
yeah.
takes a lot of courage and a lot of love for someone. And so, um, a lot of nitty gritty parts that we can talk about or not talk about. I'm open to talking about whatever you want when it comes to that subject. So I'll say that first and foremost. But there was so many fractures that I caused within myself that I wasn't aware of during that period of time. And it's taken me years. I mean, like into my 40s to really stop and reflect and think about how fucked up that was. Like, when I think about myself with my own kids, the way that I've lived my life, the things that have happened, like when I look back at not having that kind of support around me at that age, not having like my parents and
Right.
authority figures. And, and a lot of the narrative for me when I was younger was nobody was allowed to stay a night at my house. Everybody had to make an excuse to stay at someone else's house in order to come to my house so that I could hang out. And so I get why, like as a parent, I don't want my kid going to that house either. But as the kid that lived at that house, it really hurt. It
Mm,
really, really hurt.
right.
I mean, Marysville, that town is like that big. And
Right.
it's generational knowledge of people within that town. And so you know, I never lived past like say my mother's sins, my father's sins, whatever, call it whatever you want. But that was always attached to me too.
Yeah.
Like the things that happened between then or however my mom behaved in public or whatever she was doing, the speculation that went around all of that. And I was always, I mean, I guess at the time I wasn't consciously aware, but I was always subconsciously aware that I was. being judged or looked at or felt sorry for. Like that was probably the
Ooh.
big thing was the
Mhm.
poor girl. You know, like that you feel that. And it's not necessarily something you can call out, but it definitely it's ridden with me throughout life for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's definitely something, a common thread that you and I have shared as well, as being the one that people felt sorry for. And for me, it didn't even come out until my dad had passed away and everybody was telling me, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Why am I so offended by people feeling sorry for me?" And
Mhm.
then I had to untangle that and like untie all of those knots and go all the way back to the 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 judgment or the faces of people who were looking at my mother when she was in her own addiction, when she was in her process in life, and me being a byproduct of her and being like as a child, that's it ref if it's reflected upon us, but not because it's of us, but because of the situation that we're in. So it's like we have no control over someone's pity, or
Right.
because it felt like pity. It's not like
The cause of
empathy
the pity.
or
Yeah.
sympathy. Um,
Yes.
Pity. You're pitying me, you feel sorry for me, but nobody's doing anything about it.
No, and not even I'm not even understanding that something needed to be done. This was my life. This was
Right.
what was normalized for me. This is
Right.
what I thought family looked like. This is what I
Right.
thought home looked like. Like
Right.
I got that there was differences and I don't think that I ever looked at it as anything other than having a chip on my shoulder for a long time. I looked at it as being I was very defensive in a lot of my interactions with people.
Mhm.
Um, the way that I saw relationships, like as I became an adult and got into friendships and even like professional relationships and things like that, the way that I took people in was
Mm.
deeply affected by all of those things. And I think that's, like you said, when your dad passed away, I mean, honestly, for me, I think it was when my mom passed away. I think there was something that shifted
Mhm.
after she died in me that gave me permission to investigate
Yeah.
this less
Right.
because it almost felt dishonoring in a
Mhm.
way to think about anything that maybe I was neglected for or things that she chose to do over, being there for me or choices that she made that I wouldn't have made and stopping myself from judging her, but also judging me for
Right.
feeling the way about it. Because yeah, of course I do. Of course you do. Of course you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm in no way perfect as a parent, but I'm certainly I've always showed up,
Right.
always gonna show up,
Right.
never gonna put something before showing up kind of a
Yeah.
thing, And um yeah, I don't know. I think my mom wanted to be that. She definitely wanted to be that, but I don't think her environment allowed it either.
Say that one more time.
I think that she always wanted that, but I don't think her environment allowed it either.
Oh,
I don't think
yes.
what she was handed was what she had dreamt of by any means.
Right. That's so crazy to me to think about, because if I think about, I just wrote a story on Substack about the way that my brother and I, like, being best friends and being raised in the way that we grew up, and, it brought up how my family was super chaotic, like my larger family, right? Because my mom has or
There's a lot.
had, a lot of siblings, so I had a lot of cousins, and then I had a lot of, like, cousins that were like aunts, and so it was a big unit. We had a big unit growing up, and, um, I was thinking that I'm like, what happened in their life? Because the way that I heard it growing up was that they were all a tight unit, and they were doing like gymkhanas, right? Doing horse things. They were,
Right.
I mean, like all of the things that I heard, right, sounded to me like a pretty functional family. Like
Right.
you had your service members, you had all of these kind of
Right.
things, and
Yeah.
and everybody was like living their life. And yet there is a generational pattern of addiction and suffering. And um I mean deep seated deep wounds that I can see in all of those
Wow.
relatives, those generations. You and I have broken those, right, because we saw what it was like to be the child of a mother who chose work,
Right.
drugs, alcohol, men, whatever it was. It felt like they chose that, or I'll speak for myself.
Yes.
It felt like my mother had chosen that over choosing me.
Mhm. Back then, I agree with you. I think that that version of me definitely felt that way.
Right. And so looking back on it now, I'm at a place in my life where I can see that it had nothing to do with me. We're all on a journey. We're all just here being human. This is the first, like, this is our first time being this version of us, right? Like, we met in this timeline, thank God, to help one another heal and evolve past whatever this generational thing has been up until this point.
Right.
And so watching you go through what you went through, um, with your mother, and knowing that my mother felt like a safe place,
Mhm.
and then watching us then become parents and be like, I may not be perfect, but I'm fucking here. I am
Right.
here. I am in it. I am making choices to,
I'm intentional about the
yes,
choices that I'm making, and
right.
even in even in all the imperfection of our parenting, right?
Mhm.
There was still the intention.
Yeah.
There was still the intention of showing up and being there, and yeah, that felt different to my kids than it did me, for sure. I always felt very much like I needed to know how to take care of things on my own.
Hmm.
I needed to know how to take care of everything, I
Yeah.
guess, I might, in order to feel safe and okay.
Right. Yeah, because I've almost gone, like, I'll be the first to admit this, but I've almost gone to the other extreme where now I'm like, "Oh god, did I do them a disservice?" Because they
Yeah.
still rely on me and depend on me for so much that I'm at an age now, okay, we both turned 47 this year, and I'm at an age now where all I'm thinking about is getting my supplements, getting my protein, trying to lift weights 3 days a week, and, like, keeping my mental health stable because I feel like a crazy person out
Right.
of nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lie. I've always been a crazy person, but I feel extra crazy. I
Did
feel
you see me stop for a minute? Like, well, I mean, okay, hold on. No, I mean,
extra. I feel
I'll
extra.
say, yeah, yeah,
Um,
different. I feel not in, I don't know, not in control necessarily of this one. This one is just happening to me.
it's just yeah. Um, and so that comes with its own version of like, ugh, in my body because I'm like, oh, I went to this other extreme where I have been such an like kind of to bring this all about is I became such an overachiever because I was so
Yeah.
hypersensitive
Yep.
because when I was a child, I developed coping strategies and I brought them into my adult life and my parenting life, but in a way that mirrored or not mirrored, but does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. That's like a, I think what came up when you were saying that for me was that I felt very performative in order to be accepted or loved or seen. And so for me, when I did well, right? Like I did pretty good for a while, and even when I was doing the cheerleading and all of that. But I think once I got to high school, I was like, you know what actually gets me far more attention? Not doing any of that. Doing all of the things that get me in trouble. That they pay attention right now when I'm doing that. And
Mm,
so that became sort of a habit, I guess,
mhm,
or a way that I understood that I was being seen first.
mhm,
I mean, I definitely didn't know that at the time, but I absolutely recognize it now. I mean, it's there's no doubt about that. And the ways that I don't know, I guess the ways that I felt lonely when I was younger, that was sort of um a lot of what motivated me to make sure I showed up in force for my kids. So there's plenty of like what you're saying about the too dependent or whatever else. Like I've had those thoughts for sure. I've had those thoughts. And I've also had the thoughts of like, at the times that Ben and I, when we have like had family parties and, we've always gone big and we always had beer and we always had like everybody was hanging out and playing cards and games and whatever, talking loud, doing everything. And the kids were right along with us. And I've thought on that level often too, like, did I do them a disservice by being there too much or letting them be around some of those things too much? Like it's a double edged sword. I
Yeah.
think it comes back to what, like the intention part, like the fact that we continue to show up and we continue to say to ourselves, like, this is okay
Right.
compared to what we had. Like,
Right.
this is far better. And they're going to have a different experience if they have kids. We're going to see it in a different way reflected back to us.
Yeah.
I mean, if they decide to do that. I don't know.
Right.
Are you in a space that you're like, "Oh, I wanna have grandbabies?"
Ooh, I got to hold a brand new baby not too long ago, and, I I definitely would love to have the experience of that. However, I will say that I believe that I'm probably 75% okay with not ever having that title,
Yeah.
um, and
Did
but
you
I
say
will
75%?
75% I'm okay if
Okay.
that doesn't happen.
Okay.
I'm 75% okay if that doesn't happen. I think there's a smaller percentage of me that really is like, "You know what? That would be really cool." However, I will tell you that the motivation behind that is still coming from a place of fear because I'm not sure I want to watch the people that I raised raise people.
That part.
I know. I know.
Because it's gonna be a reflection of, yes,
I
of a younger
love them
version of
and I
myself.
trust them, right? But I mean, I have a 25 who's gonna be 26-year-old this year, and I am like, "Please do not have children yet."
Not yet. That's what I told them. I was like, "If you want me to be that kind of a grandmother, you have got to give me a break. I need a minute."
I need a
I need
minute.
a
I
minute.
need a minute. Me and Dylan went and watched Jeff Foxworthy. You remember Jeff Foxworthy, the
I do.
comedian? Okay, so we went and watched him a few years ago, and he, of course, his jokes had to change because he's older and he's like this
Right.
next generation. And he's like, nobody told me that once I was done raising kids, that I immediately went into raising my parents. Like, okay, so, my father, God rest his soul, is gone, feels like a gift, and I
Yeah.
don't mean that in a bad way. You and I have talked about this, and I'm very blunt and, I
Yeah.
don't mean to offend people, but not having to care for my father, right,
Yeah.
feels like a gift. I'm just gonna say I'm like, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Having to raise our parents and then thinking about potentially and by parents, I mean my mother, but,
Mhm.
whether or not that I don't know what that even I can't even freaking go there right now thinking
Right.
about what that would even look like. But I do have a mother-in-law that lives with me, and so I'm already and I have a father-in-law that lives in the yard, and so I am already in this role of every decision I make about my life
It
it
involves them.
it involves them, and so
Yeah.
I didn't get a break. I told
Right.
Dylan the other day, I was like, "25 years of parenting feels like a really fricking long time." So, am I okay with not having grandkids? Yeah, for a fricking long time. Wait till you're in your 30s, maybe even like 35. I think that feels still very safe. I want a break. I wanna know what it's like. I genuinely wanna know what it's like to, like, just be me and my husband.
I think there's a part of me, probably because of my own history. If I had not had Nana, ugh, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be a quarter of who I am today without that woman, just period. She was every bit of stability I think that I ever knew, and the real, like, person that taught me how to mother and how to kind of wife and how to keep a home, and that was her role, and it took things away from her. It didn't take away from me. She gave an awful lot to me, and it added to my life greatly, but I know that, like, when I came, when I was in Reading after I had Olivia, and like her and I were very close up until she passed away, and Olivia and Austin were both around her until she did. And we had conversations later when she said that Olivia and Austin were kind of like the do-over and getting to be a grandparent because she didn't get to do that with me. She had to tell me no. She had to show up at this.
Mm.
She had to
She
take me
she
to
had to be a mother.
grandparent.
Yeah, she was a
Yeah.
mother, not a
And
grandparent.
so there's some part of me that's like, I don't want that role. And I want, if my kids decide that they want to have children, I want it to be because they've decided that they want to have children. That's my hope for them.
Mhm.
My hope for them is that they get a say in it. best case scenario is that they get to decide, right? I think I would definitely settle for stability. If it
Right.
happened unplanned, at least stability and support, and knowing that you're with somebody who is going to be your partner in this parenting thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I feel like in marriage, for me at least, like sometimes that was the grounding factor, was that you're
Right.
both parents to these same two little people, and that mattered more than any of our dumb shit at the time. And so like that matters to me, because that was where a lot of the support came for me, was being in a partnership with someone who wanted it as bad as I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, I just don't want to have to be I don't want to have to be the parent.
Right. I mean, and you think about like your the age that your kids are now, you were already thick in parenting.
Oh yeah.
I
Two
mean,
kids at
yeah,
Olivia's age. Well, I was cooking Austin at her age. I had her.
right. So I mean it's very different, but they're still living with you.
Yeah, I
That
know.
doesn't
Yeah. So
feel like
Olivia's
an
moved back in at
option,
this
right?
point.
You're
Yeah.
like, do not have kids. Wrap it up. I don't care what you got to do.
I might, you know what? I'll say it right here on your podcast. I mean, if that was to happen while they were living here, I might just move out from under them. You might not see me again. Either that, or I just show up at your house and you'd be like, "Ooh, okay, it happened." Then and I throw our phones out the window. Can't
Oh
find our
my god.
location.
Right? I'm like, okay, so you know, we were this is just the way that it is. Like, this is why the podcast is this way, is to just kind of like go with the flow, like go where it goes, right?
You say
Because
those things out loud. Just run
it's
away from your kids if they make kids. I
just
promise.
say it out loud because you know what? Like, I guarantee you other people are feeling it.
Well,
That's
and the thing is, like, I know, God, the example. So, like, Julie loves being a grandma, and it's like this role that was meant for her, right? And then I have my friend Jade, who I've been friends with her for 30 years. She's up here in Reading, and she's a grandma now, and kind of the same thing. Like, it was a role that was made for her, and I love it. I can see them light up when they talk about their grandkids and all these things. And I'm like, not yet though. I feel like I was that way when I was younger with people that were having babies around me too. Where I was just like, oh, yeah,
um, excuse me. Something else that just came to me when you were talking is how flippin' different it is. So Dylan and I have been married. This year will be 21 years. I think you and Ben have been together a couple years longer than
yeah,
that.
we've been married 23 years. Yeah, we've been
So,
married for 23 years, and we met in 1997. So we were boyfriend and girlfriend for a few years.
right. Right.
Yeah.
Which which you have to come back. You're gonna be like a resident guest. You have to come back and we have to just talk husbands. We have to just talk our marriages. And because it's hilarious being married that many years and still loving that
It's
person.
hard, actually, right? I'm finding it hard to go back to the beginning, because you and I have conversations so often.
Yeah,
Like, I find it hard to remember the details of when we were that young,
I know.
Like,
I know.
so starting, like, when we were talking about, like, starting from the beginning of where we started, that's a cool place to visit, because I haven't been there in a long time. But I also think about how actually, I guess, like, how easy those thoughts come up for me when I'm there, like when I'm in Marysville, in and around Marysville. It seems like I'm flooded with all of those kinds of memories. And
Right.
then when I'm out of the environment, for some reason, it's harder for me to recall. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
that happens to me a lot.
It's hard for me to recall it when I'm there, but you already know this
Is
about
it?
me.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right.
You
We talked
you
about
know
that.
you always ask me, "Do you remember when?" And I look
Yeah.
at you with that blank stare and you're like, "Oh, girl."
No, you don't.
I'm like, "Can
I
you
know.
kind of try to remind me?" And I just can't quite get there. Uh, Probably from the drugs and the alcohol. I mean, at such a young age, I would
Yeah.
assume, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of wanted to go back really quick
Sure.
to um your openness and your candidness about your struggles of being young and feeling alone and turning towards drugs and
Yeah.
alcohol. And
Becoming one of the statistics of that whole
yes, right,
well, yeah.
right. And I was the 8th grade president, my 8th grade year of school at Yuba Feather. I was like voted like whatever to be the first female president. I mean, I like had it on
I can see that
lockdown,
about you. Yeah. And
you
then
know?
you met the town kids.
And then I met these frickin' town kids who corrupted me.
That's what happened, right? But yes, yeah,
Um, and so I know that my own journey was started drinking really young, started smoking weed really young, started smoking cigarettes, tried
you were
some
younger.
meth. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm a vain ass person. So the second that I saw it outward, like the second that I saw it, like a couple of stints where it was a couple of overnighters, and I was like, never doing that again.
Yeah.
I was, I'm so grateful that I was able to like see it. I saw in the mirror what it was doing to my body, and I was like, never again. And you know what? God loved my mother because I remember coming to her and just being like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah.
And again, it was a very, very short window of time, and it was not nearly as bad as what I saw happening around me, one with you being one of
Yeah.
those people, and a couple of other people that were really close to me, and so, my mom sat with me through the hardest parts of that. Like, she was there with me, and she definitely and I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I've always been one of those people that once I see like what's happening, it's really easy for me to give
Yeah.
something up. It's really easy for me to just be like, I'm done with that and never do that again. And I never did that again. Um, and being in that though, my addictions were more so it was more sex. It was related. It was feeling needed, wanted, loved. It was feeling attention.
Yeah.
um, I was very promiscuous. You know this. I mean, to the point of where, I mean, I feel like I had given away so many parts of myself that once I became an adult and I started healing, I had to call back all of those parts of myself. And I had to forgive that young girl who literally was just, I mean, I was just even talking the other day about how badly people spoke about me. Harley had said something about, a friend who I don't know what the term is that they use, but it's kind of like she's like washed out, like, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't even remember what it was, but because she's dated a few guys in high school, I'm like, honey, I didn't just date a few. I didn't even date guys in high school. I just did them. Like, that's just what I did. Like,
It's no dating.
there was no
I
dating.
wasn't dating them.
And it was always like, I have to say too, there was always, I always felt so heartbreaking to me that I wasn't the girl that people wanted to date. I was the
Right.
girl that people wanted to screw. Um,
Well, they only wanted to be friends with me. So I don't.
But I had given so many parts of myself away, and I remember hearing about myself and how awful that felt, and
Yeah.
crying so many times to just be like, "This is so unfair." Because it's obviously multifaceted. One was like, "Screw this. Why can boys do this, but girls can't?"
Right.
And then the other part of me was this wounded little, like, wanted to just be seen and loved. And I wasn't the one that people chose to date. I wasn't the one that got asked out to the dances. I wasn't, that wasn't it. And I had a few people, I mean, a few people, men, guys, they weren't men, they were boys, that I had very special relationships with. But I remember just being so
Yeah.
heartbroken because I wasn't the one that was chosen. So I wasn't chosen. I didn't feel chosen at all.
Right.
But looking back, it's because I wasn't choosing myself.
Exactly. Well, and
Uh,
we definitely are not. I'm not sure how much capacity we have for that. That
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, there were times. So I remember there were not many times that I was really like humiliated because I definitely feel like a lot of those choices were initiated. Like, I was making those choices with
Right.
certain people. Um, but I remember one time going to a party, and there was this guy that I knew, and I had known him since grade school. And he had come back into town, and we had all gotten wasted, and I needed to get back down the hill, and I didn't have a driver's license, didn't have a car, didn't there was no way for me to get back down.
You
And
definitely didn't have those things.
no, we did not have those things. And I remember he's like, "Well, I'll give you a ride down, but you have to ride in the back of my truck." Oh,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, it's still like, it still is one of those moments in my life that was like one of the lowest points in my life, like one of the lowest, like worthless,
Yeah.
like I had no worth whatsoever in that moment. And it was just like,
No worse.
it wasn't even that big of a deal. You know how many times I had ridden in the back of a truck happily?
Well,
Like,
like, it was on the heels of something, you know?
oh, yes. And I thought, "How dare you belittle me and make me," like, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't belittle me. It was just my circumstance, and it had to happen in order for me to, I gained something out of it. But it's still
Right.
one of those, one of those times in my life where I felt absolute humiliation that he thought that little of me, like I was a dog you just put in the back of a truck and give a ride down the hill, even though I could have sat in the front in between the two people that were right. I mean, it was just absolutely, and I think now thinking it out loud is, it's because I didn't have a choice. It was because I didn't have anybody to call. I was alone. I didn't have anybody to call. I didn't have anybody to depend on. I didn't have a mom who drove. I didn't, I all of these kind of things. I felt very much like a fucking victim of my circumstance.
Yeah.
And it was humiliating. Yeah.
And it's so difficult, like, especially when you're young, because you are so, I mean, you're just vulnerable. You're
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's nothing to shield you or protect you or keep you safe in those
Right.
moments. And so something like that feels so much worse. That is disgusting. I don't give a shit. Yes, they're young and they're boys too, but that's disgusting.
Right. Right. And then years, I mean, many, like I would say probably
Whatever
like,
that was, you probably know who you are and you're gross. Anyway.
yeah, if you ever hear this,
Yeah.
he actually like friended me on Facebook a couple of
Of
months ago.
course he did.
Of course he did. And it was like, God, I wanted to say to him, I wanted to just be like, you know,
You still got that truck?
really,
No.
this what,
Just you still got that truck?
right? I just want to be like,
Oh.
that really hurt me. It
Yeah.
really hurt me. I honestly had considered he and I like friends, and I was so excited to see him, and then he had treated me that way for whatever reason, to be cool, to, whatever it was. It was just so uncool. And of course I didn't say anything to him, but
Oh.
you know,
Well, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That was cathartic. I needed to say that.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah.
But um yeah, calling back all of those parts of myself and knowing that I had given so many pieces of myself away to people that 100% did not deserve it was like, I mean, ugly, snotty, crying
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
I know.
And yeah,
There
uh,
were very, very few glimpses of that you ever displayed. There were very few moments, and they came in like the middle of the night, if you will. It was like if you and I were up late and something had just happened with someone, and maybe there might be a little bit of emotion that would come out of you about a situation, but you always tucked it right back, just right back in, like moving forward. Never mind. That's not there. So when you're talking about calling pieces of yourself back, like, yeah. And collecting that means walking through it all again. Like, having grace through that is not easy.
right. Yeah.
It's not just yoga and breath work, man.
No. Oh God. I mean, like this is
So much more
no, this is like the
involved.
fifth time I've got like full body like goosebumps because I just know that it's like so much truth. And this is really what I wanted, like what the reason I wanted us to be able to
Yeah.
do this. Um, because what I have realized about myself is what you were witnessing at that time, at that age, was my armor being built. It was the iron giant
Mhm.
that I was building. Was it's not safe to be vulnerable, and I have to just keep moving forward. I cannot sit in this because XYZ, whatever it could be, right? I can't change it. I don't want to change it. or it's out of my control, right? And so that was me building those armored plates. And
Yeah.
when I when I realized, I thought, "Oh, I'm such an open, you know, person, and I'm just like I'm open-hearted and, or whatever you wanna say." And then I got to this point in my life where I was like, "Oh, no, you have not been living with your heart wide open. You have been shielding and building and putting plates of armor all over yourself in order to just survive."
Survival. Yeah. Yep.
I'm still chinking at the armor, truly,
Oh,
and I've been in
I
this
don't
for a
know if
while.
that ever stops.
Right,
As long as we're living, there's going to be something else.
right, right.
But I think that part of it's interesting because I'm just coming up on, you remember I told you I was doing that the picture kind of project
Yes.
where I found all of my pictures from all of the years in school. And I'm up to my sophomore year right now. So interesting that we would start this conversation because I haven't picked it back up.
Okay, so just briefly so that anybody that's listening, give us a little bit
Okay.
of what you've been doing, please.
So I found not too long ago, Ben and I were going through the garage and cleaning stuff out, and I found a tub from my mom's house that I just hadn't unpacked. She's been gone for 11 years this January, and it was just one of the things that got moved with us, put up in the rafters, and I hadn't opened it. So I opened it, and I found a bunch of photo albums and some more owls, because anybody that ever knew my mom knows that she collected owls, and I have many. So I open up the photo albums and I start looking, and she has like 8 by 10 pictures of pretty much every single year of school, but also like the Owen Mills, when I was a baby. And then there's like the earliest one I think is 9 weeks, and then 18 months, and then like 3 years. And then there's like preschool and then kindergarten all the way up. Right. So what I decided to do was, what I really feel is like I was having some, I was kind of trying to just work through some things that I had from my early childhood and some stuff that had come up for me when I was at my dad's for a visit. And I happened to find this tub right after that went down. And so the way that I decided to move through it was to write myself a letter for each of those pictures. So, like the version of myself that's 9 weeks old, like, writing a letter to her about what I know and what I recollect about that time period, and that her parents are in love and together and happy about her arrival, and that yeah, I was born actually with my feet completely turned in. So my ankles actually had to be displaced, and casts had to be placed on my legs.
Holy moly.
Right? Fun fact. Have not thought about that for years and years and years. And then when I started doing this project, I was like, oh shit, that's right. I had those casts on my legs until I was like, I think I was like 14 months old when they got cut off. And then I had 4 scout shoes after that. Like backward shoes that I had to wear until I was like, I think 3, something like that. So when I started walking. And I
You're
just
like,
thought to myself inside of this picture, like the resilience that was already there.
"Hmm,
And for this 9-week-old baby, and like what was already kind of happening for her. And so each of these pictures brought up a different version and me thinking about those things. But of course, we go from this, 9-week-old's beautiful kind of picture of a family to where this now 4-year-old girl is, I'm writing a letter to her about, this is going to be when you sleep in a house with just you and your mom and you don't have your stuff. And it's a big empty house. This is going to be the first night that you crawl in bed with your mom. Like these, I was 4, and these memories started coming back to me like super vividly as I'm writing this out with these pictures. And so watching my story change and kind of unfold just based on, obviously I don't remember a lot of those things clearly, but I know stories and I know what I was told. And as I wrote, things came up.
mm,
And so getting to where I'm at now with the sophomore year and the things that have transpired already that I've already written through. Um, one of the and this is definitely for another time, but one of the stepdads that I had that was not that was like part of my demise, I think, at that
mm,
period of time. Those remembering that girl and seeing that picture and how she looked so mad. Like that version of me looked so pissed. I just like it's in her eyes, right?
Mhm.
And so for every version of myself, I think there's been discovery, but also there's this I recognize where things come from now. So if I'm having a conversation, it's usually my kids that trigger me the most. But having a conversation with them or even with my husband or somebody close to me, and I feel instantly triggered in a conversation, I know I'm like, okay, wait, I kind of remember where this might have stemmed from.
Mm.
And that's sort of what's helpful for me in recalling these things is when I can place it, then I know I can move it. I know it's not an actual thing that's happening right now. I'm like, oh, this is a past version of me reacting to what's going on here. This isn't really about me. And that's calming for me. I mean, it works really well. So it's been a good exercise. But
Right.
this is some deep stuff, like
Right.
unpack the addiction part.
Mhm.
And especially with a lot of what I find myself doing lately, professionally and the groups that I'm working with and working with at-risk teams who are going through substance abuse programs and parents of these teens. And it's all like this full circle thing. It's very cool, but it's tender.
Oh,
It
I
pokes at
bet.
some wounds for sure.
Yeah. Dang, you just inspired me. I've been wanting to go and get all of my pictures out and just, sit.
It's so good, Ray.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a good
Um,
exercise. I recommend it. Anybody who's got anything like sit down and write yourself a letter.
yes. Yeah. It is definitely a form of reparenting, which is such a, like, buzzword. Um,
Very trendy.
super trendy. Come to me if you
I
want.
didn't like the first time. I'm just gonna go ahead and redo it.
Yeah, yeah. Let me know if you want some assistance in reparenting. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's very cathartic to be able to do that. I actually have a picture of me as a baby and my mom and my dad sitting next to my bed right now. It's been there for a couple of months, and it not sure what the significance is of it for me, but just being at a time like you're saying, like that little version of me who had mom and dad, looking at how exquisite my mother, I mean, my mother just gorgeous. She's still gorgeous. She's still
Yeah.
gorgeous. I mean, I have a beautiful family. We have great genetics. Looking at
What is it
her.
that Nikki always says? She always calls her like the va va voom mom or something like that. She always used to say that about you. Your mom is like so va va voom. And
Who used to say that?
Nikki,
Yes.
you have like the hot mom.
I know, right? I did have the hot mom. I mean, a lot of the guys were coming over to my place because they were like, "Oh, Raylan's mom is like," Um, and so looking at that picture and just seeing her, but also seeing her as beautiful as I see her in that picture, but also remembering how hard she was on herself and how much she did not like what she saw in the mirror. And just, I mean, and I think a lot of this comes up too because we've talked a little bit about this, but like 47 years old, I just look in the mirror and I'm just like, okay, wait a second. I just wasted so many years not appreciating what I had because now what I have, I'm like, oh, girl, oh, we're in this next phase.
Yeah.
You
You know what I
know,
was thinking about that whole 47? Like as a like just I don't a parallel is it came to me when I was writing the other day. My mom was 47 years old when I moved to Reading. So I
uh,
was 17 when I
yeah,
moved here because we're 29 years apart.
uh
So I
huh.
was born in February. She yeah, turned 30 in July. So
Mm-hmm.
she was in my mindset, in my frame of life when I
Yeah,
moved. Like
right. Yeah. It's
I don't know,
so
it just brought
wild.
up some stuff where I was like it was an understanding for me is what it was. Because like,
Mhm.
like we've talked about how rebuilding the relationship after they're gone and all of that, and that's part of it is just the recognition.
Right, right. Yeah. So now I think I need to go and get all of my pictures. I think I'm gonna like employ my husband to help me do that and bring them up to the she shed and just have some moments like that where I'm just going through and honoring all of those parts of myself and all of those phases of myself.
Yeah.
And Yeah, this season of life for me right now feels like emptying. I feel like I am emptying myself of fears and these beliefs that I've had and these stories that I've carried and this, I just feel like I'm like emptying. I feel like I've been
Almost like
trying.
unpacking it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, like trying to do it and like thinking that I'm doing it, but it's been very and kind of to go back and say that people did, like you have said multiple times throughout this conversation, like you didn't really show it. Like even if you were going through it,
Yeah.
you didn't really show it. I
Yep.
think I'm at a point in my life now where I'm like, you're kind of gonna see it. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
show it. Like basically, like tears are my makeup right now. Like
You
that's just
have to.
fact.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, you don't necessarily have to. There's plenty of people that don't. But
Right.
for those of us who are really trying to be our most authentic selves and trying to just show up every day and get this whole experience that we're meant to get, we have to.
Right. Yeah.
It, I mean, it's taking off all of the armor. It is. It's all of the chinks have got to go. And standing there in full vulnerability and not, what's really nice about 47 is I don't have nearly the fucks that I used to have at all. So the judgment part, gone. This is all me. Like I am only fighting myself right now.
Oh man.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so true. So part of my journey right now is I'm not happy with the way my body physically, like strength wise, just weight wise, there's lots of factors going in here. But I have been caring for my body really well for a while, through, I mean, I believe first and
Okay.
foremost through sobriety.
Oh yeah.
I think I've added years to my life because of that. And eating well and saying what I need to say and not holding things. There's so much that goes into like the biology, of like this and the beauty of it. Um, and so I'm like, I'm going to commit myself to lifting or, strength training 3 days a week and walking and stretching and drinking water and eating like I got
Yeah.
these things that I just know. And it's so strange because I'm switching from, and I'm saying this from a very like vanity based, realization that I had because I had Harley take pictures of me with underwear and a bra on. Oh my God. I looked at my mother. It was my mother. I was like, okay, I'm not ready for that. Mom, I love you to death, but I'm not ready for that. I really feel this fit like 50, like soon to be 50-year-old. I feel like we're just close. I mean, when I say
We are.
50, it's a couple
Yeah.
of years away. It's not that far away, right? And
It's
so like I really would love to
not.
finally be in a place where I'm actually doing it for myself. And I'm doing it because I want longevity, because I want to be able to lift myself up out of a chair at 60, 70, 80 years old. I want to be able to be, an active part. I don't want to just be dying, and everybody in my family has either died young or they're just slowly dying, suffering and in pain and addicted to pills or
Right.
addicted, just addicted to something. And
Chronically
so
ill or yeah.
chronically ill, trusting the Western medicine system, which is a whole other freaking topic.
That,
You
that can be a series by itself with me, Ray.
yeah. So it's like, so I needed visual. I mean, this is me and this is just the
Yeah.
way that I needed visual. Like, okay, this is where we're at. It's okay. Visual acceptance. And also just knowing what's possible through honest to goodness, radical self like just responsibility or whatever you want to call that. Like ownership of where I'm at.
I think for me it was realization first. It was like I didn't have the self-awareness. I also didn't have a lot of education. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're just finding out as a society, period. Like who knew we were slowly being poisoned for the last several decades? Like nobody really knew that. Nobody would have just been like, okay, you know. So some of these things that we're learning now and figuring out also even just the way that they've, it's finally been embraced that it is mind, body, spirit, that those three things are all in the same.
Right.
You're here. That's the same thing. It's not, specialties of your body is really kind of absurd. So it's just, this is one solid function. And to be able to feed the inside, like
Yeah.
the heart, the spirit, the emotional aspects of things is what drives me to do anything else now.
Yeah.
Like those are the things I lead way more with that than I do. I'm not motivated by my daughters. Like Olivia is very much kind of like how you are and seeing like she's driven by what she sees very much. She, like if this doesn't look right, then it doesn't feel right. And
Hmm.
so, and I mean, I see that in people. I have friends that are that way too. I am very much kind of like the internal person. Like if this is off kilter, if my thoughts are off, I have no motivation to do anything.
Right.
So, I mean, and I can look just fine through those emotions and through those things. And I can still, show up with my face washed and my hair done and have on like the professional outfit and, all the things I've been trained to show up and do despite how I feel on the inside. And so for me, that authenticity is saying it, doing
Mm.
it, showing up as. And I don't know. I think the parts like what you're describing, it's, it's my neck, my neck, my neck, and the back of my hands are hella old. I don't know what else is happening. The neck, my back, my hands, and my chest, they've aged. They've aged drastically. That's the stuff that I see. So if I see like wrinkles, that's what I'm looking at. I never, ever take pictures of myself naked, and that's on purpose. I I don't want to know. I did
Yeah.
that one time when I started like weight training, when I did my whole regimen in 2023 when I went super hard and all like I did progression pictures and it was really helpful because I had the goal, like what you're talking about with doing the weight training and all of that was actually that was incentive because I had never done it before. So
Hmm.
I didn't realize how much change came with being that disciplined and it was
Right.
super inspiring to me. Um I need to find the will to do that again because I've lost that by a lot. And I think part of it, to be honest, I'm going to have some grace here with myself and say that a lot of it had to do with the time of year. I mean, it just did, and it's been weird. Everything kind of has been strange. I've had this extended period of time off of work, which it feels a little bit. It feels a little uncomfortable at first, but now I'm like settled in, and I
And
don't.
you're like, oh, I got to go back to work.
I don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one of those things, so I got off social media pretty much 90% of the time. I still post the podcasts and anything that I'm like writing or sharing or creating, like I want to share it with the world, right? I'm doing it
Yeah.
in order to share. One of the reasons I had to get off of there is because I was sharing and then I was so attached to
Response.
response. Yeah, I was so attached to the likes and the comments and the
Yeah.
interactions and yada yada. And so it was like, God, I just want to be rid of this. And so um kind of, getting off of that. But one of the other reasons I really got off of it is because I really wanted to tune into what is it exactly like what is knowledge-based information that I can find about being the best version of myself by a lot like in my biology of being a 47-year-old woman that is going to support me through this next change in life because we're in the messy middle. Like this is what I'm calling it. Hashtag messy middle. Like this is where we're at. And so I had to get off of there because when you were on there and you were inundated with everybody having an opinion and a method and a this and a that and a da da da, like you don't know your ass from a freaking hole in the ground.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so that was one of the main reasons why I had to get off of there. A is because I do not need likes and comments to be worthy and to be like awesome.
No.
I don't.
No.
And then I realized how much of all of that inundated bullshit, like it didn't inspire to me to do anything. You know what it inspired me to do? Go crawl back in bed
No.
because I wasn't like those people and I couldn't do that and I can't do this and who do I trust and who do I
Well, it's
believe?
exhausting. There's
It's
so much
exhausting.
information. It's like who could possibly live up to that standard?
Oh my gosh.
And that was the thing. I think for me too, like that really resonates because I definitely, especially like when I created a business account and did all of that at the beginning of 2025, I was like getting all this education behind it, what I'm supposed to do. And it started feeling very much like work. Also, because of all of the themes. the top of 2025, like just politically and everything, just everything. I had taken a break in 2024. I took the whole year of
Yep,
2024 off from
I
social media.
remember.
And then because of the business thing, that I was like, okay, I'll create a business account. I'll put my feet back in the water, see what's up. And it was just like a crash course into everything getting intermingled. And so it went from being like the purpose was business and trying to advertise coaching and whatever to, okay, now I'm back on my personal page because I'm getting advice and I need to tie the two together. So, okay, I should tie my personal and my business and then this and that. And after a while, I was like, this just feels like a lot of homework and busyness that I don't want to do. And then people fighting, like on my personal pages, when I would see there's these, people that I have a lot of respect for and that I love very much, just saying some of the dumbest shit in the world. And I'm like, I can't look at this. I'd rather not know this about you. I need to move on.
Yeah, just too much, too much.
Yeah,
I
look,
really
I'm fighting with myself every day. I don't need to be divided with the rest of the world. Thank you.
right, right.
I just, yeah, I didn't have the capacity. And so I understand what you're saying completely. And then there was a part of me that I think also went to a place of comparison often. And then that just
Mm.
triggers all of those other things that made me feel like I wasn't worthy
Mm.
and like I was being judged. And, there's like, oh, poor her. Oh, this, that, like all of those things back there that are running around.
Oh man. Yeah, that comparison and that worthiness and like, I mean, and the truth of it is that this is highlight reels. People are only putting their highlight reels out here. This is not real life. And
Yeah, people aren't sitting and talking about like their drug addiction in high school.
no, no, no.
And if they are, they're just doing it to get likes or
Right.
shares or
Right. And yeah, and if they are, they have a course about it. And you can get it for
oh
$49 to,
yeah.
whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's true. There is that. There is that aspect of it. Yeah, no. I my resource was I went to NA. There you go. There's your courses at 17. To Narcotics Anonymous at 17. That's what I did.
Oh,
Oh, it works for me. I won't even charge you for that advice.
yeah, it's crazy.
Now I drink tea,
Yeah.
juice tea,
Yeah.
help to filter things through my
I
body.
drink I drink hardcore herbal infusions. I mean, it's really, it's really wild. It's super
I drink
wild. It's
hardcore infusion.
I steep them for 24 hours at a time. I mean, they are strong. But yeah, that's just what you do when you realize that like Mother Nature made everything that you need. And when you listen to your body, it actually like really just wants super freaking simple
And
stuff.
it
Like
feels good,
so
honestly. At
simple.
this stage, I'm just like, but I'm also not running from anything anymore. So that
Right.
helps a lot.
Ooh, yes. Okay. We probably need to wrap this up in like the next few minutes or so
Oh
and
my
bring
God. Nobody's going to want to watch us talk for that long.
bring it home. Um and
I
that's
might have
the
to do some editing on this.
I know. And that's the thing. That is like the opposite of what this is for though. I'm like, I can't edit anything. We're
I
great.
know it's just so, yeah. Hey, I like
Even if we only have this for our 60-year-old, 70-year-old, 80-year-old selves to look back on, like it's totally worth it.
it.
Um, but yeah, I love that you brought up the numbing, because I know that was what I was doing back, that's where I learned to numb the most was in high
Yeah.
school, right? Because, I mean, and we can talk about like these stages in life, 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. These are formative years in our lives. And we knew each other between this 14 to 21 and obviously through into, where we are now. But that 14 to 21-year-old phase, that's when you basically, and talking about that iron giant, that phase in your life is like 0 to 7, you're super impressionable and you feel like, you're impressionable, but you're like an individual, right? Like you're 0 to 7 and you're just like doing the thing. You're just like being a human. You're like having the emotion. You're like having you're like doing the thing. And then somewhere between like 7 and 14 years old, you are this emotional being who is now like, "Oh gosh, like, what are the teachers saying? What are my parents saying? What is the TV saying? What is like
I'm
you're
thinking about
you're
our
you're getting
generation.
all of this, right? And like you're
Yes.
creating this character between 7 to 14 years old that is like going to know kind of how to survive, but you're like not quite there. And then 14 to 21, you basically are like, okay, this is how I had this emotional, um, 7 to 14-year-old phase where I realized everybody else's kind of influence on what was happening in that 14, or I'm sorry, that 14 to 21-year-old self then goes, okay, this is the persona I'm going to create in order for me to survive that. And it becomes this intelligence and becomes all about this intelligent part of ourselves. So, us at 14 to, 18 years old or whatever it was, those formative years that we spent together, that time in our life was really about like, how do we protect the emotional parts of ourself?
I don't,
When you
yeah. Yeah.
when
I had a lot of the just stay out of the way and survive. I think it was a lot of my mantra.
yeah, and
Stay out of the
numb,
way and survive.
and
Yeah.
numb, and
Well,
numb, and
yeah, because
so
it's the
numb.
place of all the things that I lacked.
Yes. Yeah. So numb yourself wherever you possibly can
Yeah.
because we did not and were not taught coping skills. We were not taught like, I mean, we were living in like incredibly dysregulated bodies.
Yeah. Well, and then
Dysregulated.
even in the members of our family, I mean, this branches out into a whole series on its own too, but to the members of our family that were on the right side of things, that were the influences that we had that created resilience for us, despite our circumstances. And I think it wasn't necessarily that I was met with open and support when it came to like my addiction at that age. I was met with a lot of
Mm. Hmm.
and for shame kind of
Right.
feeling.
Right.
I think they tried their best to be supportive and with what they knew how to be supportive with, but was also working with people who loved me, but had no frame of reference, had not really had
Right.
addiction, or any of that. And so it was just, then it became Sherry's fault again.
Right.
And look at what's come of Sarah. That's
Right.
clearly Sherry's fault.
Right.
Right. Which for me, who was a major defender of Sherry, was like, hey, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's
You were Team Sherry because
very, yep.
she may not have been perfect, but
Nope.
she was, in
Yep.
whatever ways
I
she
was
was there,
team
right?
Sherry,
Right.
100%.
You were
Nobody else was.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. Somebody has to be Team Sherry.
Right.
You're
Right.
like, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been super fantastic.
It's a good start.
Good start. There's so much more here. I'm really looking forward to continuing to be able to do this if you'd like to
Yeah,
come
let's do it
back
again
and
soon. This is pretty easy actually, this
it's
way.
yeah.
It's a lot
Yeah,
easier than
exactly.
trying to drive 2.5 hours.
Exactly. So, yeah, thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having
And
me.
yeah, and ultimately, thank you for being brave enough to just be vulnerable and to share your truths. I mean, not everybody wants to come on and say, those dark
Well, this is how we met, and this is what we did first.
those darker things, right? But I mean, it's
Well, and
part
then, yeah, the way that that evolves into that story is, but it's
yeah,
also, I mean, that's what you and I do with each other all the time. We just have
right,
this
right.
mystery thing listening to us as we
Right.
talk.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely like those conversations that I mean, I remember when we were talking and I was like, I think I'm gonna do a podcast. You're like, yes, that would right
Like now. Yeah.
now. Like, why are we not recording this? Because there's like so many, like, there's so much here. There's so many gems. And so this is why my heart of the story like came about because it is healing. Like we have to be able to tell our stories without fear, guilt, and shame. I mean, we
Yeah.
have to. Like that's what it's asking of us, I believe. And
And I
I
think
think
that there's recognition, and anybody who's listening to a story like that that has judgment around it really has some work to do on themselves anyway. You
true.
know,
True.
so
Yeah.
hopefully there's somebody out there that hears that story and it's just like, okay, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get it, and I went through that too.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
that's part of
exactly.
it. It's connectivity. At the end of the day, that's the whole goal.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we really want. Again, like, I mean, I can't like say it enough, but like just hearing you talk about feeling alone at that age and then just knowing that there are still people, I mean, I have a friend that's, going through something and she's like, I'm not lonely. I feel alone. And, it's like at my age, our age
Yeah.
that we're at. So we have to talk about it. We have to
We have
talk
to
about
try to
that.
connect at this age. We didn't have to try when we were teenagers. Like
No,
it happened very naturally, but we
right.
have to actually be intentional about connection now.
Oh yeah. Majorly. Majorly. So, all
All
right.
right. Well, I love you. Thank you so
I
much.
love you. That's it for today's chapter of My Heart of the Story. Before you go, take a breath. Honor whatever rose up in you today, even if it caught you off guard. Thank you for meeting me here in the beautiful, brutal, honest, messy middle. For being a part of this living and breathing story that doesn't need to be fixed, just felt. And when the world gets loud, when the weight feels like too much, when you forget who you are, remember this. You are human, so stay wild and come back to your heart. It's still here, still beating, still yours. So until we meet again, big love, deep roots, soft shoulders, brave heart.